is going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the Daily Energy News Beat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous November 9th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and it was bonkers today. I think you know how weird it was.
Bonkers Day finishes out a bonkers week, and we are here to bring you the news, guys. First up on the menu, Switzerland to keep nuclear plants operating for longer than planned. Next up, exclusive Representatives Josh Brecheen proposes to scrap John Kerry's climate job in a move we've been calling for years now. Looks like the House is finally catching up. Next up, Texas voters approved $10 billion energy fund, with most of it going to build gas-fired power plants. Whoop, whoop. We love that. Next up, Biden puts himself before LNG-related economic and national security needs, or as Stu would say, he has once again pooped on the rug. Next up, and finally, Department of Energy invites bids for SPR oil refill. Hey, I mean, with oil prices are they at where they're at now, it actually is lower than their buying price, Stu. So it's going to be it's interesting that today's the day they released that. But nonetheless, great set of stories today. Stu will then kick it over to me. I'll quickly cover what happened in the overall markets. Really, not much change. We did see oil prices tumble a little bit. We did not see the EIA data due to system upgrades, so we will get that number next week. I have a little pine on an interesting week to do systems upgrade for the EIA.
System upgrade.
Yeah, system upgrades. But we'll cover
Right.
that and then finish out with a few oil and gas finance related tidbits, and then we'll let you guys get on out of here, finish up your week. We appreciate everybody who stuck with us here on this Thursday, being with us all week. But before we dive into the show, guys, again, as always, the news and analysis you are about to hear is brought to you by the world's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all of your energy news. Stu and the team do a great job of curating that website to make sure it stays up to speed with everything you need to know to be at the tip of the spear when it comes to the energy business. You can email the show, questions@energynewsbeat.com. Follow the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. If I was a 16-year-old YouTuber, I'd smash my fist and say, smash that like button on YouTube at Energy Newsbeat. Hit the subscribe button as well. That's the best place really nowadays to support the show. Again, check us out, energynewsbeat.com. New data news combo product dashboard.energynewsbeat.com. So go take a look at that. Give us your feedback. I'm going to Brett those, Stu. Where we want to begin?
All right. Hey, let's go to Switzerland. I'll tell you, one of my favorite countries around. Switzerland to keep nuclear plants operating for longer than planned. Michael, this is something that we've seen even in our beloved third world country of California. They've had to do that. Now, the Swiss voted in 2017 to phase out nuclear power, but they haven't set a deadline now. Switzerland's also exporting a lot of energy, and they're making money on it. So money seems to be a theme going on around here. And then the energy crisis around the electric supply. There's several other countries, and this goes along with our story the other day when we heard that 12 countries are applying with the EU for nuclear. So now that they may extend it as many as 80 years. That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, 80. I mean, this is the funny. I mean, this is what we like about nuclear, though, is the fact that it does last this long. I mean, we know you've got the back of the napkin math on wind farms. What are they lasting? 9 years, 10 years, whatever your math says, 60 years, and we'll take it.
Oh yeah, and they're not profitable from day one. So hey, but I'll tell you what, I think the small modular nukes is going to be the hit parade around here because it's easier, faster, and might get some better regulations. But I found
the
this
small modular reactors. I can't get enough of it. All right, we got to talk about John Kerry's job. Is he about to be on the unemployment line?
I hope so. I mean, this is an amazing picture. If we can get Andy, our producer, to fly in the picture. John Kerry, this picture is a classic. He's getting onto his private jet.
No, it's not his private jet. it's his family's private jet. So you can't quite nail it to him.
Oh, yeah. Right. Right.
Isn't that
Okay.
what he said before Congress? Well, it's
It
not
was.
my plane. It's my family's plane.
Right. It's my wife's. I own nothing. I know nothing. He pulled a Schultz on him. Okay. When you pull the picture up and you take a look at it, Kerry has got his flat head being beat up against the wall unless you look closer and the door's open, but he's sitting there, looks like he's beating his head up against the side of the plane. Now, here's the funny part. Josh Brecheen from Oklahoma proposed a bill that would eliminate John Kerry's position as the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy of Climate.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love this quote. President Biden has used the excuse that climate change is an existential threat to create additional bureaucracy inside the State Department. Climate change support office is nothing more than a pet project for John Kerry, to integrate climate change into all aspects of American foreign policy decisions. I got to hand it to him. I didn't even know who he was, but he's from Oklahoma. I thought it was pretty cool.
I think we're going to have him on the podcast, though. But this is exactly as he described. This is a leech on the federal government's budget so that John Kerry can go play politician and attempt to, again, weave climate change into every single policy decision. And what's crazy is into foreign policy. Yeah, that's insane. Why would you want to inject climate change into foreign policy? Oh, you're right, because that's why the Israel conflict is going on right now. You're right. It's climate change. It's not that Hamas did a terrorist attack in Israel. It's because they were concerned at the rate of emissions that Israel was doing. So we figured it out.
Oh, yeah. And there's some more stuff coming around the corner that, the Bidens may be even negotiating with Russia to end the Ukraine war.
And what's even funny, I love this last line. Chinese leader Xi Jinping, not a fan of him, but he did stick it to Kerry by holding a 2-day climate conference and didn't even invite him.
Well, that's like inviting Jock Itch to your date. It's just not something you want to do. All right, let's go to the next one here. Okay.
That's a good one. What's next?
That was pretty funny. Excuse me. Biden puts himself before LNG-related economic and national security needs. He is such a chowderhead. I had to, this is a family show. I had to be careful there.
Family show.
Family.
It's a messed up family.
Huh?
Messed up family.
Oh, well, come on over. We'll treat you like family, but come on over anyway. Biden's LNG export policies are another example of his duplicitous incompetence. He does not truly support Ukraine, the Western alliance denying China advanced semiconductor technology and free market capitalism. Biden is about Biden, not the nation. I love that line. But he's delaying the export licenses for LNG. China just signed a 27-year contract with Qatar. We talked about that on yesterday's show. And it's getting, the Netherlands could say no LNG, no cooperation, no LNG for you. Yep. Hey, the Seinfeld LNG Nazi. Remember that? The soup Nazi? No LNG for you. But it can't ship without final export license. It's been waiting for a year. This is nuts. I can't believe
the one thing that could theoretically get the entire world into energy security, if you were to divvy it up correctly, is LNG. There's more than enough to go around. But again, going back to the issue with John Kerry, we want to inject climate change into every single foreign policy decision and use it as a tool to beat down our opponents.
Oh, yeah. And then you have our sanctioning going against everybody. We've weaponized sanctions. And Iran is now, they're weaponizing their sanctions against the U.S. and the West. So buckle up for that one. You ask me always, what am I afraid for? Guess what? When those sanctions kick in, The consumers are going to get it in the drive-through. Let's go to the last one. My favorite one here. Texas voters approve 10 billion energy fund, with most going to gas-fired power plants to stabilize the grid. Michael, I love me some Texas. I love having Texas license plates. I love sitting here in West Texas. By a 2/3 margin, voters in the Lone Star State Tuesday approved a constitutional amendment by authorizing a new 10 billion energy fund to provide the low interest loans to build gas-fired power plants. Wow. How awesome is that? Giveaway to fossil fuel. Let's go into it here. There's another 1.8 billion to support the development of microgrids and backup power for critical facilities. This is smart. This is Texas doing it right again.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely doing it right. And again, when it comes down to it, what is the new electricity that's being built? Well, it's gas-fired generation. And they say through reliable grid improvements. Can't do that with wind or solar.
No.
Now,
it's kind of
we'd
funny.
be remiss to say if Texas, ironically, isn't one of the more advanced renewable energy states, which I think is fascinating to talk about, because wind and solar are a great insurance program when it comes to backup power and grid and specifically backup power and what's known as dispatchable or is what's not non-dispatchable generation, because dispatchable generation would be considered baseload, but it can be great with alongside great baseload energy. So again, Texas, they're doing it right in my opinion, and going gas fired over rolling this out for new wind farms.
Oh, I agree. And I think this is going to be part of the thing that we're seeing, Michael. I've never seen this kind of activity with everybody around the world bailing on wind farms. I mean, wind is dead. Long live natural gas. Okay. Let's go to energy department. This one gets me worked up. I'll tell you what, Department of Energy invites bids for SPR oil refill. The DOE has already repurchased 4.8 million barrels for SPR on an average of less than $73 per barrel, far lower than the average about 95 barrel of SPR crude that was sold. Hogwash. The barrel announced their cost on what they sold was $24. Whatever crayon math, they didn't even go to OSU. They went to, I think, the University of China. Their math, I think Hunter was actually grading this paper. He doesn't even have a crayon. Sorry.
Professor Biden.
I apologize. Now you can tell I'm worked up on this one.
No,
Last year,
it's ridiculous, the fact that we've drained our supply to the point where now we have to go and refill it at higher prices. Now, the interesting part is they might be saved, Stu. Oil's currently sitting at $75. This was below the original strike price in which they were going to buy, which is 79, that this article goes out to point. So they may have been saved by okay luck when it comes to oil prices, but it won't last for long. And they better gobble it up as quickly as they can, because I think the question I'm going to pose, and this might be a good leeway to our finance segment, so don't answer this question, but keep in mind is this the cheapest we will see oil and gas for the next 3 months? Because it's the cheapest it's been for the last 3 months. So hold that thought, Stu. Let's go ahead and move over.
I'm going to throw this squirrel at you. I think the reason I picked this article is because it ties into the data being out again at the EIA. And we also talked yesterday about your big conspiracy theory idea, which I'm jealous I didn't think of, from the API, about whoa numbers. Guess what? Today, there's a big investment house that was scratching their head on these high dollar things. And they said, we don't get it. Is somebody playing with the numbers? This is a financial house that I had access to that I can't put out there. And all these big time experts were saying, uh-oh, there's something fishy going on here. Anyway, off to you.
And there's a lot fishy going on, and I think this is a nice segue, Stu, into our finance segment. S&P 500, Nasdaq both finish up about a tenth of a percentage point. Crude oil tumbles about another 2.5 percentage points, all the way down to 79.49, off the back of two things. One, again, weakening demand prospects when it comes to what's happening specifically with the conflict that's going on right now in Israel. People again tend to see that demand will continue, demand specifically from what's going on in and around, as I said, the Middle East, but also what's going on in China. As guys remember, yesterday the API showed a 12 million barrel build, and the EIA comes out today and says, last 3 days we're doing maintenance upgrades, so we won't know the actual number until next week. Do I smell a conspiracy theory, Stu? The problem is the API doesn't want prices to drop, so it's hard to say that the American Petroleum Institute was in on a conspiracy to drive prices down. But it's hilarious that on the one day everybody wants the EIA crude oil storage numbers system updates.
Well, you know what? At 4 a.m. or 7:30 at night with Trump. Hang on, I'm not saying this. 7:30 at night, Fox News. All of a sudden, they call it, and then all counting is stopped. So, is that a conspiracy theory? Is this a conspiracy theory? I don't know.
There's a reason we're not gaining subscribers on YouTube, but that's okay, folks, because we bring you the conversations that you need to know. So we will find out the EIA petroleum crude oil storage numbers next month. Nothing really on the oil and gas finance standpoint. We did see two royalties companies, Phoenix Minerals and Cedito Royalties, announce financials. So you can check those out on energynewsbeat.com. But it's the last week of the show, Stu. I vote we finish up a little early. What should people be scared about heading into the weekend?
Last week of the show, what are you smoking?
Last show of the week.
There, thank you.
Oh, I'm quitting. Panicked. That's what's new.
Oh, no, get the figure. Okay, clear. For our podcast listeners, I just held up two mice pretending to have a defibrillator on the chest. Don't leave me. Just kidding.
What should people be worried about this weekend, Stu?
You quitting.
Well, good thing I'm not. So is there anything else we should be worried about?
Let's have a great day, and it's a fantastic weekend. We're going to have some great podcasts. We have 6 that we're kicking out right away.
I was going to say, fantastic. Rattle some of these off for us.
Let's see here. Boy, it depends what the staff.
We just released Dan. Dan from Combo Curve. We love him.
Love Dan.
Check that out.
We also have, I have to give a shout out to Dan. Dan was at a very high dollar luncheon, and executives were there and everything else. And he was, are you ready? Somebody came up and said, I just saw your podcast. And he said, Dan called me up immediately and said, I didn't know how far your podcast had reached. It only just released out. I mean, that's pretty strong. Okay, let's go to.
Little does Dan know that we paid that guy to tell him that. So.
Oh, well, I stalked Dan. Dan's such a class act. Okay, Tucker Perkins, Arena Slav. And then we have Dr. Brooks, another China update. He is really out there. Then we have Kevin Hockett and Noah Dean, a live one that we did at the Permian. Then we have also Larry Richards. He was the head of the Permian show. I'm also interviewing, are you ready? Mark Masters, and he is the guy that started up Tucker, Limbaugh, and all the other folks over there at Fox. We are interviewing him on Friday. I'm also interviewing tomorrow, and this is Steve Reese. I mean, the Steve Reese. We got
we love ourselves some good Steve Reese.
Oh, yeah. We got a bunch of big names coming around the world.
Absolutely, guys. You can check it all out on theenergynewsbeat.com. But for that, guys, we're going to let you get out of here. Finish up with your week. Happy Thursday, guys. You will hear a podcast interview. We'll drop one of the ones we just listed on Friday. Saturday, you'll see the weekly recap show. Sunday, you get a break from us. And then Monday, we will be back in at it, guys. So for Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.